Welcome to Tending the After. I'm Heather, an administrative guide to the bereaved. I help the bereaved trade corporations for community and paperwork for people. On today's episode, I have a very special guest, and he's going to help us with our next item on the checklist of choosing a funeral director. Hi, good morning. I'm sitting here with Dan Madden of Stark Memorial, of recent internet fame as Dan the Funeral Man on Instagram. Amazing you were able to grab that handle.
Yeah, right. I even got a trademark out for it now, so no one tries to take it.
No, that's smart. That's smart. Thinking ahead. So I reached out to you and you very graciously agreed to join me here to talk about some of the work that you do and behind the scenes that you've been showing all of us online on Instagram, particularly about the work that goes into being a funeral director. And part of what I'm doing here on this podcast is going through a checklist that was provided on everlove.com of the things that people need to do after someone has passed. Early in that process is deciding on a funeral director or other memorial service director. And so obviously you would be a great person to talk to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. People don't realize what all is involved, particularly after the funeral. You know, you're so busy and planning the funeral, and big advocate of pre-planning because that takes a lot of that away. But afterwards is even more difficult because a lot of times the family that was in town have left and you're kind of left alone trying to close out accounts, getting things transferred. So it's important to have a game plan on how you're going to do that. And we try to guide families at that time, give them a list of things that they're going to have to close out, get titles transferred at the cars. And, you know, people think that it's a quick process, but sometimes it's not, and could estate, if things weren't POD. We encourage doing a lot of that ahead of time, so it's a little less chaotic afterwards.
Yes, most definitely. So that's a lot of what I do as an administrative guide as well, is taking on those tasks for families that either don't want to deal with it or are overwhelmed by it. And so I guess I'll start somewhere kind of fun, maybe easy. You have been holding your FashUrn week online and have had wonderful urns. Actually, I
Yeah.
wish we would have seen them when my own
Yeah.
dad died, because we did have him cremated. And while my grandfather is definitely saying he wants to be buried in a whiskey cask box, the options that you've been providing are out there. How did that change? Like, when has that been a new market?
Yeah, so I mean, with 60-70% of the people being cremated today, I think that manufacturers are looking for innovative ways, different type urns to apply to people. Not everybody wants your standard urn that looks like an urn. So there's a lot of options out there. I highlighted the bookcase urn that people loved. I mean, I didn't really think that this would take off with this FashUrn show. I mean, it was just like a trending audio. I've seen like people walk out with something, and like the first urn was like a butterfly, and it just exploded on Instagram, and people wanted more and they wanted the show to continue. So I've been buying urns and trying different urns, and it's just a different way to show what's available that really has never been done before in death care that I could recall someone presenting urns or merchandise like this. It's a topic that no one likes to talk about. And I'm using this platform to get people to talk about, and death doesn't have to be scary. And it's something that I'm trying to do is break down those barriers of tabooism in funeral service that were relatable. We can have fun. We could do some lip syncs and education and things like that, just to normalize us as funeral professionals. And obviously it's refreshing to people because the video's got 700,000 views, and I'm continuing to do the show, and people are giving me requests. And so FashUrn Show is here to stay, and look for more different type urns in the future.
You also shared some of your journey into mortuary sciences and becoming a funeral director. Would you care to recap some of that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously a lot of funeral homes are passed down from generation to generation. It's a family owned business, and that was not the case for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do for a career. I started working in a funeral home where my grandmother had her services because I was curious about it. I was intrigued and wanted to see maybe it's something I would like to do for a career. So I got a job there. And at first I was a little squeamish, didn't know if I could handle it. But then I decided to go to mortuary school. And, I've been doing that for 23 years now and just purchased my own funeral home here about 6 years ago.
Congratulations. I do
Yeah.
actually know a young adult, but young teenager who is interested in pursuing the mortuary sciences. Is there anything you would have her look for when looking for a school or a particular certification?
Yeah, so each state's different, but it's good to know the requirements. Like in Ohio, they require a bachelor's degree, so I was able to transfer a lot of the credits from the local school to Cincinnati Mortuary School. I got done in about 3 years and 3 months. It was somewhat fast paced, so just understanding what the curriculums, if you have to do some preliminaries before transferring to mortuary school, make sure that those are going to transfer over to the school, and just people that are interested in going into this field just have proper expectations of what this business is like. I mean, it's not for everybody, and don't get in it for the wrong reasons. I mean, I know that there's this realm that, oh yeah, to be around death, and there's a lot of goth that like this type of business, and be honest, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of different hours, 24/7, 365. Now you have rotations with other directors at bigger funeral homes like myself, but to make sure that you're in it to help people and just not to be in a fad to say you work at a funeral home type thing.
Yeah, I'm taking pride in your work that you do and the service that you provide to people. So thank you for that. So in studying for mortuary sciences and to be an effective funeral director, I'm sure there are a lot of elements that when you decided to go into it, maybe didn't even realize, there's legal components, there's the science, there's the actual physics of working with cremation, as you've been showing some of your, what would you specifically call it? A cremation machine?
Yeah, it's called a crematory is like the building the machine's in. The machine itself is called a cremation retort, a cremation chamber per se.
Yeah, so the science is for those.
Yeah.
Legal, about organizing around the state laws for handling remains. And then, of course, a little bit of social work, because there's that very emotional component, and you're providing these memorial services also. Are those all taught as like individual courses, or was some of it on the job?
They are. I mean, there is, you have your business classes, you have your chemistry, anatomy to understand the circulatory system for draining deceased blood and entering the embalming fluid in the circulatory system. So you kind of have to have an idea on that. But most of it is going to be, you can't teach empathy. That's something that you either have or you don't. I mean, people can sense if you don't care and this is just the job for you. So I think if you're getting into this field, you have to have a degree of empathy and you have to be a people person. There's funeral homes that, that are bigger that you might just be able to be an embalmer and just be in the basement all day and you really don't need to talk to the people down there. So, but most funeral homes, you're going to have to deal with people on a daily basis. So you have to be a good communicator, have empathy, and most of it is going to come, you learn a little bit at school, but like they say, I mean, a lot of it is on job training when you start working, understanding the laws in your state, and just the more you do, the more comfortable you're going to be. So a lot of it is during an apprenticeship. After school, most funeral homes or states are going to require you to do an apprenticeship. So you're going to get hands-on training during that time as well.
This episode is brought to you by my Destination Death Planning Retreat. We're checking off to-do lists and bucket lists. Yes, we'll do the hard stuff like planning for end of life, but we'll also explore the jungle looking for waterfalls, wander around Old Town, and hang out at the beach. It's about finding peace in the process. Join me for the free Peace Plan webinar on April 27th to see how this kind of planning can actually feel freeing. And as a bonus, 5-day challenge finishers who register online will be entered to win a special prize at the webinar. So be sure to sign up and come ready to win. Save your spot at yourjcd.com/webinar. Okay, very cool. And especially because on our checklist, one of the first items is select a funeral home or other provider. That really plays into that empathy element and kind of selecting you. What do you find tends to be the most important aspect for a lot of the people that do choose to work with you, working with Stark Memorial?
Yeah, no. So most people are going to pick a funeral home based on reputation, and Stark Memorial has a great reputation, over 105 years old. But that only goes so far. I mean, people's loyalty, times are changing. It's to get a little different to where people are searching more online, and that's one reason why we have a strong social media presence. I mean, I got people reaching out to me in Kentucky because they see my Instagram and they're like, "I want you to handle my funeral." I'm like, "Well, I can travel, you know." I mean, so that's why we're on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, because we're educating people and they feel like they know me before they even come in the door because they see me online. And so I think that nowadays is a big proponent on how people are picking funeral homes. I mean, in the old days, you would see an ad in the church bulletin or the yellow pages. I mean, people aren't looking at that anymore. They're doing Google AdWords. So we're popping up on Google. We're building up Google reviews. I mean, we have 250 Google reviews for Stark Memorial. And when people are looking, they're going to see, 4.9 rating, 250 reviews. Competitor has 9 and 6 of them are bad. Who are they going to choose? So, I mean, that's what we're trying to do is just be active in the community and then active online.
Okay, yeah, into the 21st century.
Yes.
Death didn't stop in the 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And a lot of funeral homes are just stuck in the old ways of doing things. And I mean, I'm not going to complain. I mean, if they want to continue advertising the yellow pages and all that, I mean, they could go for it, but that's not where our focus is going to be.
Definitely. So obviously you're very open to styles of urns and different memorial ceremonies. The laws are different state by state, but particularly in Ohio, have you seen or helped facilitate any more unique burial options like body donations or hydroponics?
Yes. Yes. So the aquamation, water cremation is not legal in Ohio. I'm not sure if it will. Actually, human composting is on a bill in Ohio. So it's interesting that made it a bill for aquamation. So we'll see what happens there. We do green burials, and that's the process of, someone just basically no embalming. They're either put in a biodegradable casket or a shroud and just put into the ground just to return to the elements. So we have done that, and that is somewhat of a growing trend. I think we'll see a little bit more of that in the future. One option that I think I talked about is the parting stones. We do offer this quite a bit, and to where you can send cremated remains and they solidify them to more of a substance form. And that way people have a part of their loved one that they can carry around, pass it amongst their family. You'd be amazed that people have their loved ones from 2 generations ago in their closet or garage and they don't know what to do with them. So this is a good option for people to be able to do.
Yeah, I've seen lots of different options, as well as lots of, I guess we'll call them what they are, scam options, like being able to be a tree or the mushroom burials.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find is kind of top of mind or top 3 misconceptions people come in with when they suddenly have a death on their hands and they come to you?
So the top 3 misconceptions is particularly with cremation, they think that they just meet with us and their loved one's going to get cremated like that day or the next day. And they don't understand the process that has to go, the necessary paperwork that needs to be done. You can't cremate for 24 hours. You can't cremate until you have a signed death certificate. So that can take 5 to 7 days, sometimes longer. So that would be the misconception. And then misconceptions for us as funeral homes, that we are just out to take advantage of people in the worst times of their lives. And that's the farthest from the truth. I mean, we show options and show everybody what's available, but if they don't want those items, they don't need to get those. But we always like to present all the options, because if people come and say, "Well, I didn't know about that, you didn't tell me." So that's up to them. So that would be another misconception.
Yeah. Amazing. You've been great answering all of my questions. Is there anything in particular you wanted to plug or let people know?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking for a unique perspective on funeral service, a little mix of education, a little fun with lip syncs, trending audio, maybe a little dancing, join my page on Instagram, Dan the Funeral Man, and TikTok, Dan the Funeral Man. And stay tuned because we're still going to continue to do the FashUrn shows weekly. So there could be some new urns that people would want. And people are asking to buy them. We do have a website, fashurns.com, but I'm going to have a Shopify store linked to all socials, hopefully in the next week or so, with a lot of the FashUrn favorites. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.
That's all I have. So for now, good night and peaceful morning. I'll check in again next time.